happy New Year's. What's going on, guys? What's going on? Again, happy New Year's. We are now officially in the year 2026, and I am happy and excited for what God has in store for me, for you, for all of us. I am extremely excited. And again, as per usual, I am glad to be here with all of you on P Stars Radio, all right? The time is now 10:37 a.m., all right? 10:37 a.m. And, man, I want to jump straight into this ASAP. So now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the playoffs of college football. I repeat, we are on the playoffs for college football, all right? So listen up, all right? So we just had our first few couple of games for the past few days now. We had it in December, and then we're getting ready to get into the semifinals of the college football, all right? So I want to get into a couple recaps, okay? I want to get into a couple recaps and say a lot of these, should I say, playoff games so far are nothing short of mind blowing. So start off with Miami Hurricanes going up against the Ohio State University. This game was crazy, all right? Every time I think about this game, because I just saw this game last night, but I keep seeing a certain play getting passed around all over social media with Keontae Scott, all right? Listen, man, this play that this guy made, the play that this guy made is, at least the way I see it, legendary. I'm not gonna hold you. I am not gonna hold you, man. The play this guy made was nothing short of legendary. The pick six play, Keontae Scott. Like, listen, I think this was what during, should I say, what, the second quarter of the game. Listen, man, this man read these guys like he was reading them from the back of a stamp, bro. Like literally. Like, I don't know if you guys seen the game yourself or the match yourself between the Miami Hurricanes and Ohio State. But again, the play was so beautiful. It was so captivating. Like, again, Keontae Scott read the play like it was nothing, like it was just easy. And he made that what? Hold on real quick. Because, yeah, that play was terrifying. Terrifying to say the least for Ohio State, because again, you would have thought that because I always bring this up every single time in terms of football in general, in terms of being able to have good defense or good enough defense to be able to protect the quarterback as much as possible, to be able to make the right plays or the safest plays as much as possible, right? And again, you had a lot of sacks here and there. Yeah, you had a lot of sacks here and there for Miami and Ole Miss. Or I believe it was the game between, no, that was Alabama and Indiana. But it was still the same thing here as well. But again, the play that kept getting me the most, again, was Keontae Scott, and I'm seeing the play here. I'm seeing the play right here with Keontae being able to make a very good play to be able to get an interception, right? Because all in all, this was an interception play, right? Where Keontae Scott was able to read the play, grab the interception, and make a touchdown. I believe it was from the 72-yard line. I think it was the 72-yard line. But, no, not 72. Was it? Yeah. So, 72-yard pick for Keontae Scott, which was able to get the interception for Miami and ultimately get the touchdown. So again, the resulting score for that matchup The resulting score for the matchup was 24 for Miami and 14 for Ohio. And Ohio finished off the season with 12 wins and 2 losses. Same thing for Miami Hurricanes as well with 12-2. So again, that game was magnificent, magnifique, like it was magnificent to say the least. Okay, so that game was crazy in and of itself, and I believe these guys are now getting ready to face Ole Miss. Okay, and that's another game that I'm about to get into right now with yes, Ole Miss and Georgia. Okay, now this game right here was a big upset, for the Georgia Bulldogs going up against Ole Miss Rebels. Okay, so before the season was over, Ole Miss finished off with 13-1, and then we have the Georgia Bulldogs finishing off with 12-2. And with this playoffs games, again, it was an upset for the Georgia Bulldogs, with Ole Miss coming out on top with 39 and 34. Okay, now this game, I was just getting through seeing exactly what transpired, okay? Exactly what transpired between this team, which, because again, it for me, at least for the most part for me, this looked like a grab for the Georgia Bulldogs. For me, okay? Because I thought that this could have been because I think it was close to going to overtime, but it didn't go to overtime because, again, Ole Miss got the upset or got the win for the match to continue on to advance into the semifinals of the playoffs. So the ending result matches for Ole Miss and Georgia Bulldogs was 39. Okay, Ole Miss had 39, and Georgia had finished off with 34. Okay. So for the first quarter of the match, Georgia couldn't put down anything. Okay, they didn't like they could get anything down, anything in the scoreboard for their team. But Ole Miss came out on top with with a score of 6 for the first quarter, and then come the second quarter, Georgia started to get their game up or step their game up, right, and come down with 21. Okay, this was 21. For Georgia during the second quarter, and then Ole Miss had again 6, dropped in 6 for the second quarter, and then come into the third quarter, Georgia couldn't find their footing, right? They couldn't find their rhythm to keep the momentum going at least, and so they came in with 3 points for the third quarter, and then Ole Miss came in with around 7 points for the third quarter, and then finally come the fourth quarter. Okay, the fourth quarter where I felt like Georgia could have done something, all right, anything to come back, all right, to come back and try to like seal the match for them. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, it's kind of sounding like the way that I'm explaining this right now. It kind of sounds like I'm trying to root for the Bulldogs here, right? It sounds like I'm trying to root for the Bulldogs with the way that I'm talking about this. But again, Georgia could have done something to kind of keep that pressure on them, to keep the pressure on Ole Miss, but unfortunately that couldn't happen for them during that matchup because for the fourth quarter, Ole Miss came out on top with 20 points, and Georgia Bulldogs only came in with 10, which couldn't again help them seal the deal for that game to help them advance. So the ending score for that matchup was again Ole Miss 39 and Georgia 34. Again, it's tough. It's tough because it sounds like I'm trying to root for the Georgia Bulldogs here, and I am, but they missed it. They definitely missed it here. But then you had who do you have? Hold on for a minute here. Yeah. Okay, yeah, okay, so that's what transpired there for Ole Miss and Georgia Bulldogs. Now, this is a game that I really wanted to pay attention to right here, okay? And this is a game between Alabama and Indiana. Now, this game was nothing short of heartbreaking, at least for me, okay? At least for me, because for this game, I would have expected it to be a little bit more, should I say, a close matchup, okay? I would have expected this game to be a very close matchup between Alabama and Indiana. And why? It's because, again, both teams looked like they were performing extremely well. And considering the reputation with Alabama, the amount of talent, should I say, that they have on that team, I would have expected this matchup to be a little bit more challenging, but unfortunately, it just so happened to be a dominating match, okay? Dominating for Indiana, because they definitely dominated or completely overwhelmed Alabama, okay? And when I say overwhelmed, I mean to the point where Alabama couldn't even breathe. They couldn't even breathe on the touchdown lane. They couldn't even breathe touchdown. Not once could they ever smell or even see the touchdown, right? Because it was that bad. The only way that Alabama was able to ever get scores for their team was only by field goal kicks. And it was only one. I'm saying field goal kicks as if it's like multiple, right, field goal kicks. But it was only one field goal kick, only one, that got them 3 points for their team. While Indiana, on the other hand, came down with 38 total points to again dominate Alabama. Now, again, this game here was where the sacks were just flying all over the place. Again, like I brought up before, when it comes to football in general, your defense has to be up to par. If your defense is not there and they're not able to protect the quarterback as much as possible, quarterback is not going anywhere. The ball isn't going absolutely anywhere. They're basically just sitting ducks at that point. When you can't have enough defense happening from your tight ends, to protect, and it's not just from your tight ends. So you gotta expect it from all around, right? You gotta expect it from all around, not just, from just tight ends, but you gotta make sure you got a lot of your guys open on the field long enough or fast enough so that the quarterback can have someone to dish passes to, right? Dish as much passes for the respective players to make an attempt to get a touchdown, or to make an attempt to get as much first downs as much as possible to get you closer and closer to at least field goal range, right? Or just straight field goal range. Okay, so let me see. Where's a lot of the punts here? A lot of the punts. Hold on. Okay, no, it's sacks. Look, I'm looking for sacks here. So you got a lot of sacks happening for Indiana, right? So you got sacks. You got Kalen Black coming in with Devin Boykin coming in with sacks. You have Aiden Fisher coming in with sacks. Who else? You have Mikael Kamara coming in with sacks again for Indiana. Who else again? So that's 3 sacks for Indiana. One too many sacks for Indiana. And then who else? For Alabama, same thing as well, I believe. Yeah, same thing as well. You have Bray Hubbard coming in with a sack. Who else? You have Yonze Pierre also coming in with a sack. And then who else? Deontay Lawson coming in with a sack as well. So I think the total for sacks for Alabama as well was 3. Again, way too many sacks. But all in all, for the first quarter, neither teams could get any touchdowns whatsoever for their respective team, right? And then come the second quarter, you have not Alabama, but Indiana coming in with 17 in total, 17 touchdowns in total, or maybe not even touchdowns, just 17 points in total for their respective side of the team for Indiana, while, again, Alabama came in with, again, nothing on the scoreboard. And then finally around the third quarter, that is when Alabama was able to get some points in on the scoreboard, but this is only from field goal kicks, okay? It was only coming from the field goal kicks where they were able to get 3 points for their team. But that still wasn't enough, okay? It still wasn't enough for Alabama to, overwhelm Indiana by the slightest because, again, Indiana came in with 7 points, okay? 7 points for the third quarter to overwhelm Alabama. And then finally, during the fourth quarter, again, Alabama wasn't able to get up any scores at all whatsoever, while Indiana, on the other hand, came down with 14 points on the scoreboard. Listen, this, again, to me, was shocking and heartbreaking because I would have expected a little more, not even a little more, a lot more from Alabama to make this matchup very challenging, to say the least. But again, it was overwhelming, to say the least, for Alabama because Indiana came and they saw and they conquered, okay? Again, Indiana came, they saw, and they conquered. These guys were dominating basically the entire game to come down with 38 over Alabama when they only came up with only 3 to finish out the game. So that was heartbreaking. Again, for me, you got Fernando Mendoza, who delivered a killer game with 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. Okay, this is, I believe, their quarterback, Indiana's quarterback. 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is wild, okay? Insanely wild. And then you have, again, Kalen Black for Indiana, who came down with 2 touchdowns with 99 yards on the for his or on his belt. And then you have also Roman Wemby with 89 yards and 1 touchdown for the Indiana Hoosiers. All right, and then for Alabama, Austin Mack with 103 yards down for that game, and then Ty Simpson with 67 yards for Alabama as well. So, man, I don't know, man. This matchup here did disappoint. I'm not gonna lie, it did disappoint. But I guess there's always a next year, I guess. I don't know. Again, I expected this to be way more challenging than how it turned out, okay? Way more challenging. But, again, Indiana was on a mission. They came to win, and they came to advance. And so they did, all right? But that's what the outcomes were for Indiana and Alabama. And then finally, okay, I didn't get to see too much of this matchup here between the Oregon Ducks and Texas Tech. And this was by far the most embarrassing, okay, embarrassing. Like, if you guys know what I'm talking about, you guys would believe me, or you guys would agree with me when I say that this match was embarrassing, okay? Because Oregon left no room, absolutely no room for Texas to breathe, okay? Oregon left no room for Texas Tech to breathe at all whatsoever. This was a 23-0 game. 23-0. Folks, 23-0. These guys literally went crazy on Texas. So for the first quarter, it was 3-0 for Oregon and Texas. And then the second quarter, again, 3-0 for Texas, for Oregon and Texas. Oregon again with 3, Texas with 0. And then for the third quarter, 7 for Oregon, 0 for Texas. Again. And then for the fourth quarter, 10 for Oregon, 0 for Texas. Again, Texas could not get a field goal kick. They couldn't get a touchdown. These guys couldn't get. You know what? I'm even starting to think, could these guys even get a flag at this point? Could Texas even get themselves a flag? Because literally, the entire Like, the entire quarters from 1 to 4 was just nothing. I'm trying to figure out what happened here. Again, I didn't get to see this matchup because I only got to see Miami and Ohio, Indiana and Alabama, and Ole Miss and Georgia. I couldn't get to see anything so far for Oregon and Texas before I got here today. But this is embarrassing. I'm trying to figure out what happened here. Seriously, what happened? Okay, so for Texas Tech, they went 12-2 for the season, okay? 12-2. Oregon went 13-1. I mean, this couldn't have been a large difference between the two teams for it to not be challenging for both teams to have something on the scoreboard. Again, Texas has nothing. Zero. Nada. Nada, zero, nothing. It's non-existent for them. While Oregon has, again, they have something on the scoreboard for each and every single quarter. So it's like, what happened here? What happened? You have, okay. I'm constantly asking what happened, but if I had to guess, because again, I didn't get to see the highlights or the match between Oregon and Texas, but if I had to guess, okay, if I had to guess, there was, because I'm not, the stats are in front of me right now, but without looking at the stats, okay, I'm going to not pay attention to the stats and say that what happened in that matchup had to be that there was little to no protection for the quarterback. If I had to guess without looking at the stats, without watching the game, the highlights, whatever, if I had to guess, it had to do with little to no protection for the quarterback, right? There had to be dumb interceptions, right? This is just me guessing here, but there had to be dumb interceptions for Oregon, and there had to be, again, weak defense from Texas, which allowed for tons of sacks for Oregon, all right? This is what I would guess had transpired between the matchup with Oregon and Texas Tech, all right? So now I'm going to take a look, okay? I'm going to now take a look at the stats, okay? So what do I see here? What am I seeing here? So obviously there's not going to be any touchdowns for Texas. So, okay. All right, hold on. I knew it. So there was tons of sacks. This is why. I keep telling you. Okay, so Oregon has 4 sacks in total. How many interceptions? Hold on. How many interceptions do they have? 1, 2. Interceptions. Okay, so I think they only have 2 interceptions in total. So they have 4 sacks. Oregon has 4 sacks with Texas, and they only have 2 interceptions. So I told you the defense had to be lacking. They had to be, because there's no way you can get that many sacks, right? Like, there's little to no protection for the quarterback. They don't have enough breathing room or enough space to be able to make the right plays, right, to get enough yards, because for Texas, their quarterback, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Baharan Morton, their quarterback for Texas Tech had 137 yards, okay? 137 yards. He also had 2 interceptions, right? But those 137 yards and those 2 interceptions were not enough, okay? They definitely were not enough to get anything, okay? Anything for Texas Tech. Nothing, all right? And then what else? Their rushing yards was barely enough either, with Kobe Williams coming in with 81 yards and Cameron Dickey coming in with 29 yards. Yeah, that wasn't enough either. Receivings were for Terrence Carter Jr., only 72 yards. Reggie Virgil, 29 yards. Jacoby Williams, again, 17 yards. Coy Aiken, 11. Again, these were just not enough. These just were not enough for Oregon. these plays were not enough to get any plays or any points on the scoreboard for Texas. It just wasn't enough. Oregon had way too many sacks on Texas, and way too many sacks and more interceptions, or not more interceptions, the same amount of interceptions it seems for the same amount of interceptions compared to Texas Tech, but was still enough to get them to have 23-0 for Texas. So again, this match was probably the most embarrassing match, at least for Texas. So 23-0 is crazy to say the least. So now, as Oregon takes the W over Texas to now advance into the semifinals of college football playoffs, we now have the match set between now Ole Miss, who will be facing off against Miami University, and then finally we also have Indiana, who will be going up against Oregon. Okay, so listen, I'm trying to see Miami go all the way. I don't know about you guys, all right? Pops, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you. But I, for one, I'm trying to see Miami go all the way here, all right? I'm trying to see Miami take everything home. The playoff series, the championship. I'm trying to see them take all of that home, all right? So, you guys let me know what you guys think. Who do you guys think is going to take it all the way? Again, it all comes down to the Final Four. Again, Miami going up against Ole Miss, and then Oregon will be facing off Indiana. Who do you think is going to take it all the way? All right? Let me know. I am live on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Let me know down in the comments on YouTube and on Facebook. But please let me know, who do you guys think will take it home? I'm putting Miami to go up top. I might sound crazy here because again, you got teams like again Oregon, who went 13-1, I believe. Indiana, who I believe is 14-0, if I'm not mistaken. Indiana is crazy right now. So I might sound crazy with my take here, but that's just me, all right? You guys might think differently, but that is just me, all right? I'm going to finish off with the verse of the day. I am way over time right now. I'm going to... I am over time right now, so I'm going to finish off with the verse of the day, okay? And the verse will be coming from John chapter 15, verses 4. All right? The verse again comes from John chapter 15, verses 4. Verset sorti dans Jean chapitre 15, verset 4. Encore, verset sorti dans Jean chapitre 15, verset 4. I will begin reading, and it reads, "Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine, and neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me." Allow me to read that verse for you one more time. And it reads, "Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me." All right? So, verse kind of speaks for itself, right? You want to make sure that you understand the reality that there is no growing without God. There is no growth without God. to be or to have growth in your life in every aspect. It doesn't matter what it is. In every and all aspects. For there to be growth, for there to be for there to be growth and gain, you must remain in God. Nothing more, nothing less. Without God, there is no growth and there is no gain. And so, as we step into 2026, I want to make this abundantly clear to you. In order to gain, in order to have growth, remember to stick in God. Remain in God through prayer, through the word, through all of that. Remain in God, because without God, there will not be growth and there will not be gain. We can't do anything in this world on our own, because without God, all things are impossible. But with God, all things are possible. Remember, with God, all things are possible. So, again, as we get into 2026, I want to encourage you, I want to remind you to stick with God, okay? Stick with Him, and He will see you through. And with that, I would like to say again, happy New Year's, all right? I love you guys. Again, I'm way over time. I'm going to give it over to Brother John, but I hope to see you all again on Tuesday. Again, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Ricky. I do my shows here live on P Stars Radio, where I talk all about sports. So if you would like to, feel free. I don't always have TikTok with me, so please feel free to come over to the YouTube channel, which is P Stars Radio TV, or follow me on my Facebook page, which is my name, which is Ricky Dorcelli, all right? I love you guys, and again, I will see you all on Tuesday, all right? Peace.